Alright, so here we are. This is the 6th series in the Team LighT King of the Hill. And this is between LRM Mo, who is the Zerg here, at the 6, 7 o'clock-ish position on Longinus. And he's the current champion of the King of the Hill. The current king, you could say. Having defeated Sadist in the 5th series that we happened a couple months ago. And so now Mo is defending his title against Schism LighT. And Schism is another Terran player on the Team LighT team. Very solid, very strong Terran player for Team LighT. And he's challenging Mo for the position. And like I mentioned, the map is Longinus. And let's go ahead and talk about the map for a second. For those of you who, for whatever reason, haven't played on this map. So, this map has pros and cons for both players. Pros for Zerg, the natural expansion. You got this cliff here, very easy for Mutalists to be able to snipe turrets. A little bit harder to snipe inside of a Terran base in the main base, but it's very easy for Mutalists to snipe at this location. Not to mention, you still got this somewhat of a high ground to help block Marines and snipe Marines here. The pros for a Terran, though, is once they get out of their choke as a big Terran ball army, it's very hard to get them cornered. They got a lot of maneuverability. They can move around to a lot of different directions. Very hard to set up a proper flank on a Terran army unless you drive them into a trap. And like I said, and that's the one thing about Zerg. If you could tell a really good Zerg player is when they can force a Terran player into a trap that they've set up and be able to flank them from all sides and just get them from everywhere. And a Terran player can do nothing against a Zerg that flanks them from all sides. So again, once it's easy for a Terran ball to move out and about. They got lots of areas they can run to, but if a good Zerg will flank them and do a lot of damage to them. Zerg players, though, I'm going to go ahead and pause the map because there's some things going on that I want to be able to look at here in a second as to why that drone's there and things like that. A third base for a Zerg player, really hard to hold here at that mineral only. Vastly easier for a Zerg player to hold one of these little another main base or natural expansion, or these little high ground island expansions with the double gas, whereas the third base is very open. A Terran can come in from any direction and take that out. Excuse me, had a little hiccup. So let's go ahead and unreveal the map, and let's talk a little bit about Mo's playstyle here. He went for the 12 pool first and then went for a 12 hatch. Which means two things. He wants to go for a rush with his initial 6 Zerglings. You can see him saving up larva here. And hope that Schism went for a 1 Rax into expand build. So that means those 6 Zerglings are going to be able to do a lot of damage to Schism. Or Mo doesn't know Schism that well, and he doesn't want to get caught off guard by any sort of rush cheese tactic. And he wants to be able to get Zerglings out in time to be able to deal with that. And that's also the reason why this Overlord saw this SCV come from the top left and is now moving up to the top left. And that's also why Mo has sent out this drone so soon. He wants to know what Schism is doing, if he's going to go for a 1 Rax expand, 1 Rax tech, 2 Rax, whatever. He wants to know what Schism is doing. That's a very smart move by Mo. Now, most Zergs, when they've played a Terran enough and they know their play style, or even a Zerg who doesn't do that, if they feel really confident, usually they go for the 12 hatch expand and then the 12 pool to get their expo up sooner. And on this map, because it's such a long walking distance, it's actually a very standard build to do that too. But Mo probably doesn't know Schism's playstyle that well, I think, and that's why he went for the 12 pool first, hoping either to catch Schism off guard with just a 1 Rax build, or if Schism does do some weird cheese build, he'll be able to defend against that. And it looks like Schism is going to go for the 2 Rax build, and that means his expansion is going to come up later than Mo, but he's going to be able to have a lot more Marines early on, and that means he can still do some kind of a sunken break with a lot of Marines, try to harass with a lot of Marines early, or he could go for just the 2 Rax expand. And you can see that drone's going to come in here. He's going to see the second barracks going up, so he's going to know, okay, my expansion is going to be safe. For now, he's not doing any sort of weird strat. He's actually going to return that drone back to his base, use it to help mine those minerals try to keep up in terms of economy to Schism, especially when that expansion comes online. He's going to need every drone he needs to be able to keep up in terms of economy to Schism. In terms to Mo, I'm sorry. And Schism has seen these 6 Zerglings moving out and has smartly moved his Marines back inside his mineral line. He's going to be able to use those SCVs as a shield, whether to attack or defend against the Zerglings. Mo's not going to be able to do that much damage. And a smart move by Mo here, putting his 3rd hatchery right by his choke. 1, that's going to help push the creep out a little bit further so he can get sunken colonies down. 2, he's going to be able to get drones out from that hatchery and use them at his the 2 locations he's currently mining from. And Schism actually has enough Marines here. He can easily push these Zerglings out and take his expansion. And that's what he's doing there. I'm pretty sure those Zerglings saw that command center. So Mo is probably going to feel pretty safe. Probably not going to be expecting any sort of attack. Regardless, putting down a creep colony. We'll see if he morphs that into a sunken. But and he is going to do that. Now with the 3rd hatchery, he's going to be able to use the larva, and you can see he's just pumping drones. That's all he's doing, he's just pumping drones. Going to try to catch up to a good, in terms of economy, to Schism, and then he'll just probably just pump primarily fighting units, Zerglings, and whatever tech choice he decides to go for. Probably Mutalisk. I don't see a Hydralisk den down at all. You would usually put the den down first if you're going Lurkers, so that way, right as the layer finishes, you'll have the Lurker going and Hydralisk ready to move out. But another reason why it's very safe to put this hatchery here instead of whereas at the mineral only is that the mineral only, like I said, is so huge. It's easy for Terran Marines to come around and flank. Not to mention, Mo's not going to have the resources to put defenses here at his 3rd and at his natural expansion choke to be able to defend those 2 places at once. And it looks like Schism is moving down. You probably saw them coming down across the minimap. Mo forced to pull his Zerglings back. Schism moving in. He can actually break this right here, right now, if he moves in. There's only 1 sunken and just 6 Zerglings for defense. Mo had capped himself on supply. 1 Overlord just now popping out. You can now see all these eggs just now popping up, trying to get into Zerglings, hopefully in hopes that they'll be out in time. But Schism is not going to press his advantage, and he is not going to move in with his Marines. And now Schism has lost the critical window because now a lot of Zerglings are coming out. Zergling speed almost finished for Mo, and he'll be able to push out very easily, surround those Marines and take them out, unless they get supported by some Firebats and Medics here real quick. STEM only halfway researched. Comsat still going up. I'm sure if Schism had Comsat up sooner and Comsat this, he probably would have pushed in sooner. A lot of Zerglings for Mo. Schism in not that great of a position. No STEM for those Marines, no Medics, no Firebats. I would pull those guys back or risk, or at least to the high ground so he doesn't risk losing them. And Mo actually moving out and getting a nice surround of those Marines. And Schism not even microing those Marines, loses all of them. He is pulling back these 4 reinforcing Marines and those 2 Medics. Unfortunately, a little bit too late for those Medics to get there to help out with the battle. Not that they really could have done much. 2 Medics isn't that good against a Zergling force of this size. And now Schism has lost a lot of Marines here in the early game. And let's take a quick look at tech choice. Okay, we got a Spire going up for Mo, almost done. And that's going to help out Mo greatly. And now, I'll get to that in just a second. So now Zergling's coming in, trying to pick off SCVs. Schism force come off his Firebats. Zergling's coming in. Can't let those Firebats get surrounded. And nice pullback by those Firebats, or by Schism, pulling those Firebats back and funneling those Zerglings. Only 2 Zerglings survive out of that elite control group, and then some of Zerglings. And the great move that Schism just did right there is he actually left the 2 or 3 Marines he had out front, and that let the Zerglings, when Mo attack moved, made them concentrate on those Marines, and that gave the Firebats time to pull back and use those Medics intentionally or unintentionally as a wall to funnel those Zerglings. So great micro there by Schism. And Mo just lost a lot of units there. But now, like I was mentioning before, now that Schism has lost a lot of his Marines, he's not going to be able to deal with the Mutalisk harass. And here come those Mutalisk right across the map. Schism going to try to rely mostly on his turret defense while he can get his barracks going and start pumping Marines. You can see him pumping Marines in the back foot here. +1 weapon upgrade for those Marines halfway done. And just too many Mutalisks for this small force of Marines out here to deal with. Schism trying to reinforce more Marines, but really that's not enough to deal with this amount of Mutalisks, and they're just going to get sniped off. Look at this. Great control by Mo. Just great multitask. Not multitask. Great Mutalisk attacking and harassing here.